The top 5 matchup, the Buckeyes have won 29 straight against the Hoosiers, the longest win streak by one Big Ten team against another in the conference's history. But, however, asterisk, it's the 5th-ranked Hoosiers who entered this game 10-0 this season. One win away from clinching a spot in the Big Ten title game against Oregon. Now, this will be their first game against a ranked team this season. About all the talk, who would be played? Well, you get a test today. Number 2 Ohio State, allowing the fewest points and the second fewest yards per game this season. The Buckeyes would not clinch a berth in the conference title game with a win, but it greatly improves their chances. Nobody knows the playoff ramifications and implications and scenarios better than our Heather Dinich. That's why she joins us this morning. Before we get to those implications, Heather, you spoke to both coaches. Starting with Ohio State, what is Ryan Day saying about today's test against Indiana?
Well, he told me that the Buckeyes this year are averaging about 63 plays per game, which is lower than about 80 when he first came to Ohio State. But he said that's not a bad thing because they've been able to control the games this year by running the football. And that's something he wants to continue to do against Indiana. Run the ball, stop the run, win those game-changing plays, of course, win the turnover battle, and win the explosive plays as well. And then when I talked to Indiana coach Curt Cignetti earlier this week, I asked him about defending the Buckeyes star receiver, freshman Jeremiah Smith, and he told me to disrupt the passing game, it starts with getting pressure on Ohio State quarterback Will Howard, get him off rhythm, and then when the ball's in the air, play tight coverage on Jeremiah Smith, but also he's a very good player. I said, how good do you think you guys are in terms of the rankings? And he said, we're as good as our record is, and that's 10-0.
Undefeated still. What is the potential playoff fallout from Indiana versus Ohio State? Because we're going to get some regardless, given the way they're positioned in the seedings.
Well, the selection committee will pay attention to how this game unfolds. And if it's a close game, the loser of this might not be out of the top 12 entirely. Now, if it's Indiana and it's a lopsided loss, then I think that's a different conversation. But because it's a loss to a top 5 team, that has mattered within the room. Penn State is ranked as high as they are because of a close loss to number 2 Ohio State. Ohio State's where they are because of a close loss to number 1 Oregon. So how you lose matters, but I think it's a much more difficult question to answer if it's a 2-loss Ohio State that drops down there with the 2-loss SEC teams.
Speaking of losses, it's still Notre Dame that has the worst loss of the season, and that's why all eyes Yankee Stadium, Notre Dame versus a ranked Army team. What happens if the Irish lose in this situation, Heather?
Well, 2 things. One, I think Notre Dame falls out of the playoff conversation, but I think Army then has a little bit more hope as possibly the 5th highest ranked group of 5 conference champion, but I still think they need to run the table, win the American Athletic Conference Championship, beat Tulane in the process, and maybe hope Boise State loses. That's a definite debate in the committee meeting room. But also, if Notre Dame loses, that opens a door to a possible bubble team, and Tennessee, which is on the edge right now, might be the biggest benefactor of that.
Here's the thing. Our Army has faced far dire circumstances and prevailed at the end of the day. The Fighting Irish have won 15 straight meetings against the Black Knights. Heather, nobody does it better than you. Thank you.
All week 13 is upon us in college football. We have Roman Harper with us as Indiana and Ohio State take center stage. Roman likes what he sees from the Hoosier defense. Specifically, Roman, it is going to take an elite performance from that side of the football to pull off the upset today. What about the Indiana defense jumps out to you?
Well, Randy, man, good morning. What I looked at, because I broke down a lot of film on Indiana the last week, and what I saw particularly was that, number one, they're a very smart defense. They play fast, they play aggressive, and at the end of the day, they take the football away. This secondary, they do not make mistakes when the ball is in the air. They don't get panicked, and they make plays on the ball. And they will turn or take that takeaway and then go score on the other side of it, where the defense goes scores it, or they put the offense and set them up in field position to score. And I love watching this defense. And look, they lead the Big Ten in pressures on the quarterback, tackle for losses, and their second in takeaways. That is who they are. They're going to sit back. They're going to play aggressive. They're going to sit back, play some zone coverages, and they understand exactly how to fit these things and where to play. if Indiana wants to win this game, they got to create turnovers and take the football away, set themselves up to score. And if they do that, Ohio State, I'm just warning you guys and all the Ohio State Buckeye fans, you better watch out. This is a dangerous team that a lot of teams and a lot of people are trying to overlook right now. But defensively, this is a team that can go out there and beat anybody and keep up because of the way they play and create turnovers.
Specifically what you're talking about with the turnovers, you do that once early on in this game, maybe neutralize the crowd a little bit, and then anything can happen at the Horseshoe. All right, it's time for Roman's harping.
Yes.
Rome, what has your focus and attention today?
Well, guys, it's the home team, man, Alabama. Look, Alabama's on the road today versus an Oklahoma team that is very, very good and secure defensively. But overall, got to be honest, they have not been good at all offensively. And so understanding that Alabama is starting to learn who they are. They are a downhill running football team that tries to be explosive in the run game. And then on defense, they're a team that takes the football away, and they also want to be great on third down. That is who they are. And sometimes it's safe to be said that, when you know who you are, that is the better team, and that is where Alabama is right now. They're figuring themselves out. And I'm a little bit nervous because early in the year, I thought this would be the game to watch out for Alabama. But I think Alabama's going to be able to handle business today versus a struggling Oklahoma team. But next week versus Auburn has me extremely nervous because anytime anybody's not going to give Auburn credit, that's exactly when they sneak up on you. Alabama has to finish out 2-0 to be able to get into the playoffs, and everything in front of them is right there to be had. And especially the way that this season has started, it would be a great finish and a great first year for Kalen DeBoer to put his team in the SEC championship and then set his team up for a college football playoff run.
74% chance to make the college football playoff as we stand this morning. I want to shout out the guy shouting behind you who has a chair as a hat. He has begged for attention, and now he is getting it, and maybe your eardrums
They're
can
literally
stop
saying,
suffering.
shout out to the hat.
Yeah,
shout out to the hat.
And that is where we find our guy, Desmond Howard, with us this morning on SportsCenter before he joins the game day crew. Des, let's get to it. It's the MVP. The matchup to watch, the vulnerable team, and the player to keep an eye on. Run it.
Yeah, G, well, we're here for one reason only, because the big matchup, Indiana coming in here at number 5 in the country, going to take on Ohio State, who's number 2 in the country. Looking at this Hoosiers team, right? They're like the Rodney Dangerfield of college football. They get no respect, but respect is not given, it's earned. And if you want to earn respect, you go in the shoe and you tussle with the bear. If you start to slap the bear around at high noon, people will love to respect you. But all I know, G, is that when Signetti got this job, he said, listen, people, I don't take a backseat to nobody, not even the stinking Buckeyes. We're going to find out today. I might have paraphrased that a little bit. The vulnerable team, Notre Dame and the boogie down Bronx taking on Army. I think Notre Dame may be vulnerable because we're talking 14 points. That's a lot of points for a team in Army that possesses the ball at 34 minutes per contest. They're number 1 in the country rushing the ball, averaging 334 yards a game. I'm not saying Notre Dame won't win, but man, down that bookie down Bronx, bro, it might not be about 14. Now the player of the game, the Florida Gators, DJ Lagway. Man, listen, in that game right there, DJ was giving Georgia the business. Then he pulled his hamstring, carted off the field, came back against LSU, and continued to work his magic. This young man is special. They take on Ole Miss today. Ole Miss is coming off of a bye week after the big win against Georgia, so they had a whole extra week for everybody to tell them how great they are, patting them on the back. I tell you what, if Ole Miss come in there sleeping, DJ Lagway may have something special for those dudes.
Hey, Des, I know you had to paraphrase what Signetti said. I don't have to since I'm in Bristol. I think he said Purdue sucks, Michigan sucks, and Ohio State sucks. Hey, before you go.
The last one he said was the Buckeyes.
Today
is show and prove.
It's just a news and information program. Des, real quick before you go, today we're celebrating an anniversary. It is the 33rd anniversary of a particular Heisman moment that you had against the Buckeyes. Des, is it true that you had something good planned? You wanted to do a backflip, but instead you went with the Heisman pose.
Yeah, G, let me tell you, man. So I had practiced all summer with this gymnast that I was seeing at the time, and she taught me how to do a backflip. And I said, okay, if I ever get an opportunity out in front of everybody, I'm going to stop at the 1 yard line and do a backflip in the end zone. I thought it would be the coolest thing to do, but G, I have to admit, man, I got to about the 10-yard line because I was going back and forth. Should I do it? Yeah, no. If you mess up, you're going to be on the SportsCenter for the wrong thing. So I kind of chickened out at the 10-yard line, and I did that little pose right there that it'll live long after I'm gone.
Oh, yeah, that little pose. Oh, you mean just the Heisman pose? Yeah, that's our Heisman winner, Desmond Howard, coming up on game day, 9 a.m. Eastern. Des, much appreciated.
Shifting gears from UTSA to the Big Ten marquee matchup, number 2 Ohio State hosting 5th-ranked Indiana. It's the 5th top-5 matchup of this college football season, so we need EJ Manuel to help us break it down ahead of Hoosiers and Buckeyes. Who in this matchup, EJ, are you opening up the manual for?
What's up, Randy? Good morning. It's going to be Indiana quarterback Kurtis Rourke, and for good reason. This guy's been having a heck of a season, and really a huge reason why this team is now 10-0. I'm going to show you 4 plays here that were really good, and then one actually was not so good. You're actually going to have a post at the bottom of your screen by this receiver to clear out this corner and the safety. It almost looks like it's double post, but they actually run a nice sail route right here. And look at the ball placement by Rourke, putting it up on the shelf for his receiver to go up and make a big play. That's an explosive. Down in the red zone, look at this long throw, Randy. Opposite hash, back shoulder fade on the dot. No DB. I don't care if you're at Ohio State. I don't care if you're the Dallas Cowboys. You cannot cover a throw that's being made like this. This is going to be big, and I know you guys are going to hate on the Cowboys, but this is going to be big against the Buckeyes as they're going to try to pressure him and get him off his spot. Now, here's going to be those pressures. You got 6 guys up on the defensive line, 2 linebackers mugging up. Now you got 5 offensive linemen plus a running back in protection. Now, here's where the issues can come. You're going to end up seeing a pick stunt on the bottom of the line right here on the right tackle. The linebacker's going to rush that right tackle and allow that defensive end to curl around, and you got 2 droppers. So when you have 6 up, you don't know who's coming in the rush, and then that puts the back in a tough position to try to get some protection. Easy sack here from Michigan, and again, the Wolverines were able to get 4 sacks on Rourke last weekend, and he's also been sacked 10 times. Now here's where Mike Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, is going to help out Kurtis Rourke in this game. Look at this play call. You're going to sneak the tight end across right here. Little play action, a little hezzy on the block, and you create a touchdown pass. So it's going to take a combination of Kurtis Rourke being accurate. It's going to take these receivers making plays, and also the OC Mike Shanahan calling some good plays for these guys.
And good luck against that Jim Knowles defense there for the Buckeyes. And after that one, EJ, 2 Big 12 teams are on the road. You got BYU at Arizona State, while Colorado heads to Kansas. And that one, neutral site, air quotes, but it's at Arrowhead Stadium. Which, in your opinion, which Big 12 road team is in the most danger?
Yeah, Randy, it's the BYU Cougars. They're really in danger because you look at the game last week and just not as many explosives that we've seen the past few weeks. And also Kansas, one of the hot teams right now. But now Arizona State, also an extremely hot team in the Big 12. You got to give a whole lot of respect to Coach Dillingham. He's got this team playing great. But Cam Scatterbo, our running back, he's going to make these guys feel that pain when he's running between the tackles. They also have defenders that can get their hands on footballs, as you see, and cause some tips. Now, Drake Retzlaff has played well this season. I'm expecting him to get back in the saddle. But as far as a ranked-on-ranked matchup in the Big 12, BYU might be in trouble.
Week 13, the regular season running out. This is Tim Tebow. He's the one sitting in a chair, not the one using a chair as a hat in the background. Hey, Tim, let's talk about the top 5 matchup. Indiana, Ohio State, Hoosiers quarterback Kurtis Rourke, second best QBR in the country. Ohio State allows the fewest points per game. Who's got the edge in this matchup, Tim?
Well, I lean towards Ohio State, and it's because of their front 4, and they can win the one-on-one matchup on the outside with Jack and JT. I think they're very good. If you go back to last week with Michigan, Michigan got to the quarterback quite a few times in Kurtis Rourke. They didn't bring him down every time, but they forced a fumble, and they were able to disrupt him quite a bit, especially in the second half. And then you look at the back end for Ohio State, led by Caleb Downs. Their ability to keep in front of him, not give up the big play, force turnovers, especially in crucial situations. I lean towards giving the edge towards Ohio State, but they can't give up the double move. If you look at what Indiana did against Michigan early in the game with the double move, that could be a game changer for them.
All right, what about your Gators? Looking feisty. They host number 9 Ole Miss today at the Swamp. Where do the Rebels need to tread lightly today, Tim?
Well, I think if you look at this Gators team, the way that they've been able to continue to play with heart and character and their resilience, even though they've lost quarterbacks and now they get DJ back, his ability to throw the deep ball, that's really where Ole Miss has to be nervous. Is he has a second most deep ball completions in the FBS. He hasn't even played a lot this season. He has an uncanny ability to hit the deep ball and be accurate on the move, just like you're seeing right now. That's a ridiculous pass on the move in an uncomfortable situation for most quarterbacks. Their swamp's going to be rocking.
Sure.
Ole Miss has to understand, yes, they're a more complete team, but this Florida team's playing with a lot of heart and resiliency, and they believe in this young kid, DJ Lagway.
Listen, there's a book called Gators Get Toothaches Too. Today, Gators can give the Rebels a headache. Before you go, Tim, Georgia, just a slim favorite against UMass. 45-point favorites. Beyond today, though, why should the Georgia faithful be feeling good about Carson Beck right now?
Look at the way he played last week against Tennessee in a must-win situation. I love that it wasn't just about his skill set. He actually changed the game with his will set, with his heart. The game changed on this play. It's a 2nd and long, and he steps up. Listen, nobody wants to give him credit with his athletic ability, what he's done. But this team has the most drops in the country. Look at the way he's fighting and now lowering his shoulder on a crucial situation. They regained the momentum. They regained the belief and the motivation, I believe, on that play. And now 2 plays later, they have a good motion. I like the setup here. They get a one-on-one with their linebacker against a tight end, Oscar Delp. And then I love the way that Carson Beck was throwing with conviction. He was throwing with accuracy. He was letting it rip. Almost 350 yards, 3 TDs. I believe it was his best game of the season. And then I love the poise throughout the entire game. He looks to the boundary. It's not there. Flat route. It's not there. He's stepping up, but the whole fender is right in front of your dig route. Guys in front of your face. Step up with poise on the move, moves the whole fender back to the boundary, and throws his receiver open. I love it. Listen, after drop after drop after drop in the first half, Carson didn't flinch. And I believe, yes, he played great with an elite skill set, but he played even better with his will set of saying, listen, I'm all in, and I'm going to put the team on my back.
Tim, I wish you would have been in studio just now. An audible gasp let out when you said, from his skill set to his will set? That's a bar this morning on SportsCenter. More of that from Tim Tebow, 10 a.m. Eastern on SEC Nation, on SEC Network. Tim, much appreciated.
This might as well be the front lawn of Kirk Herbstreit's home, as a matter of fact. Kirk joining us now from the friendly confines. Kirk, we have been to Indiana this season. Now it's Ohio State's turn. How does the crowd compare?
Well, I mean, anytime you come to Columbus, are you kidding me? Perfect weather. Buckeyes. When the Buckeye fans feel threatened, Randy, it's just a different kind of atmosphere in Columbus. And I think they respect Indiana. I think they feel that there's a lot of talk about this team and the possibility of being a threat to this Ohio State football team. So I think it's an all-hands-on-deck field today in Columbus.
I like what you said there. When this Buckeye crowd feels threatened, and this matchup features 2 of the best defenses in the country. So let's talk about both teams, but specifically maybe the Hoosiers. Where specifically might they be a threat to Ohio State?
Well, they've been great at defending the run and getting off blocks. I mean, keep in mind, this will be a very, very different challenge for them because of the athletic ability that Ohio State has at receiver and at running back. But they've been outstanding up to this point. You know, they're athletic. They're playing with confidence within the scheme because of the success they've had in his first year. I mean, this is against Michigan. You can see the defensive line doing their job, eating up the blocks. It frees up their linebackers to be able to make plays. They're athletic to be able to hold up on islands. The question is, this is a very, very different challenge. One thing that gets overlooked is the play that Will Howard has played all year long, in my opinion. Not just with his ability to make decisions and throw the football. His legs have really helped Ohio State at critical moments. I think today that's something Indiana's got to be concerned about with Chip Kelly dialing up Will Howard, finding ways to get him involved in the run game today.
Specifically since the loss to Oregon, the only blemish on the resume here for Ohio State, Will Howard, 10 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. What have you made of his ability to bounce back and respond in a massive way?
The guy's, he's a veteran. You know, he's been through the wars. A lot of people weren't familiar with him because of his days at Kansas State, but I think that experience he gained allowed him to go through. This is a different animal when you come to Columbus. You get on the Twitter after you lose to Oregon, it's all your fault. You know, you're getting death threats, you know, that kind of experience. So I think he's been able to kind of put that out of his mind, lock in on what he needs to do. And I think he just has a ton of confidence. I think how he responded individually, going back to Penn State, he grew up in that region, played out of his mind. I just think the kid has been outstanding. I don't think the nation really looks at Will Howard. And this is an Ohio State team has been elite all year. A lot of focus is on Jeremiah Smith. A lot of focus is on Ryan Day and what he does, and obviously what Chip Kelly's brought. But Will Howard, for whatever reason, kind of gets put on the back burner. And to me, I think he'll remind people again across the country how important he is to this team, and a big part of the reason why Ohio State ends up winning this game.
And Kirk, I don't know if you spent much time around Will Howard. Does he like that? Does he like flying under the radar? Does that sort of suit him?
He went to Kansas State, so I think that tells you, like he likes that. He plays a little bit with a chip on his shoulder. Yeah. I think that he'd rather be that guy than a Heisman front runner. I think it allows him to kind of play like that. Like I said, that bit of a chip on his shoulder. I think this Ohio State team that, I think they rally around him. I think from an intangible standpoint, he's off the charts. But I just think today is an opportunity for both these quarterbacks, actually. The Kurtis Rourke kid as well, the Ohio transfer. He's done a remarkable job. If Indiana hangs around, it's going to be because of his playmaking ability. That guy plays under pressure as well as any quarterback in the country, and he's going to be under a lot of duress the way Jim Knowles will dial up pressure today.
I was just going to say, it's good to be good at that considering what's headed his way. Do we have a Pete sighting? I already saw a sign that said, I'm here for Pat and I'm here for Pete.
Right here.
There he is.
Yeah.
There he is.
There he is. Right there.
Look at the man. Hey, the crowd's ready. It's alarming that it's taken this long to get to Ohio State, but the game day bust is making a very familiar trip to see Ohio State pose the first real threat for the Hoosiers this season.